Hey guys, this is Red Pole Q, and in this episode we are going to talk about having the wrong friends that hold you back from success and getting the right people around you. And we have, as usual,
McConnell.
And a special guest who we hope to be joining us more regularly in the future.
Kane Vast.
Our main man in China, exactly where he wants to be. Okay, so let's get it going.
It's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
So I started with, I got a question in or a comment. I can't remember who it was. On one of the group chats, I think someone was talking about. Oh, it was the guy who's taking the boot camp this weekend, right? Was it him? About dealing with friends. Right.
Maybe.
Was that him?
It might have been. I thought we had this question a while ago, though.
You're right, we did. So maybe it wasn't him.
Right.
But this is a really common theme when people get into pickup in general. It's like they get into dating and changing their relationships, and it doesn't even have to be about relationships. It can be about deciding you want to quit your job that everyone thinks is a great job and deciding to do your own thing. Pretty much any time you want to make any change in your life, you often find that your friends are not as helpful as you thought they might be.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that and some of the ramifications and issues with that. So why don't we start with Kane, since we don't usually have him on?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a very famous saying which goes something like, you are the approximation of the 5 closest friends you have.
That's Jim Rohn. Give him credit. Give credit where credit is due.
I heard it from David D'Angelo. I guess he stole it from Jim Rohn.
David D'Angelo. It's really about who didn't David D'Angelo steal from,
and also who didn't steal from Jim Rohn.
Yeah, that's right. That's also
so. Jim Rohn is essentially the self-help, the original self-help vampire person.
The self-help vampire?
But he's not a vampire, but you've got the original vampire, and it just sounds cooler.
So,
for anyone out there who doesn't know Jim Rohn, check out Jim Rohn. Pretty much anything by him is good.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we'll put a couple of Jim Rohn YouTube clips down below, so you can go and have a look in the description.
Now, the point of this 5 closest friends thing is that your friends either lift you up or push you down, right? And they want you
or kick you around.
Or kick you around, depending how bad they are. They want you to be a certain sort of person because they're comfortable with that. That's how you fit into their social group and into their life. And when you start behaving in weird ways that don't match with that, it makes them uncomfortable because they can no longer predict your behavior. So it's very important which sort of friends you have around you. And a lot of people make the mistake of prioritizing their relationship with their friends on how they all feel about it or what is right or wrong compared above the value in which they provide each other. So for example, if you have a friend called Timmy, and Timmy is a crackhead who does a lot of crack, but he's a good guy and he's really funny and
he's always there for you,
and he brings you
to take you from the hospital when you black out.
At the bar. He brings you Doritos that he steals from the supermarket. Timmy is not a good friend for you to have because your chances of becoming a crackhead are much higher by hanging around with Timmy.
In fact, your chances of already being a crackhead.
Yeah, well, that too. Whereas if you had a different friend, let's say it was like Thompson, who's boring and in finance, if you hung around with him, you'd probably become a lot more rich and do a lot less crack, depending.
No, you'd move on from crack to cocaine.
Yeah. So you'd move up a class. Now, the point is, the people you have around you constantly influence you. And it doesn't exactly have to be 5, although that number probably is important in some way. The key component here is that you have to surround yourself with the type of people that you want to be like. So if you surround yourself with people who are weaker than you, who are lower value, who are less talented, less experienced,
less driven,
then you are just bringing yourself down. You're not giving yourself an opportunity to grow because all the examples you've got around you are just trash. So you really want to try to surround yourself with people that are the sort of people you want to be like.
Yeah, one of the things that's really, first of all, I'd like to say it doesn't just have to be friends; it can be family as well. Often it is family, and so it's not easy oftentimes to do this sort of thing. If you have members of your family who are sort of the ones who are dragging you down, it can be really difficult to cut them off or to start distancing yourself more. And they know a lot of times, especially if it's your parents, they know how to like pull all your emotional triggers to like make you do exactly what they want you to do. And so you oftentimes have to start identifying what these triggers are and sort of unplugging them so they don't work anymore. Otherwise, you just get sucked back into the drama and chaos of those people. It's a little bit easier with friends in general, but it also depends on how far back your friends go. If you have one of those, kind of, especially if you a lot of times when people come up from environments that are really messy and they had that one guy that was, or those two guys that were always there for them in that messy environment, it's really hard to sort of leave them behind. But if it's sort of one of those things you have to do. My dad, and probably some of you have heard this already. My dad used to say to me, "How can you soar like an eagle if you're flying with turkeys?"
That's very well put.
And and it's true, and it can be sad because you want everyone to do well, and you want your friends to do well, you want them to move up, but your choices are. There's speaking of Dave D'Angelo, there's that Dave D'Angelo in the Man Transformations program. I'm not a big fan of the program, but this particular quote is good. He said, "First make yourself strong, then make others strong." And a lot of people, they do it the other way around. It's like they got nothing. It's like, okay, I've got like a Snickers bar, I'll give you half, instead of being like, okay, well, let me eat the whole thing, and then I can like go out there and I'll be able to work a full 8-hour shift, and then I'll be able to give him some money after. So, it's not easy. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, so the other component about this is most people make friends based on their emotional decisions, right? So they meet someone and they're funny, or they have a common interest and they can get along. And these are fine reasons to have friends, but you also have to evaluate the value exchange component of that relationship. And a lot of people don't do this because they've never been told they should do this, right? We all grew up with Disney. We're all told that we should have this like idyllic, happy world where everyone's nice to everyone. But
unless they're evil. Because I think this is one of the big things, is that the idea is essentially that if someone isn't evil, then they're good, right?
I guess.
I mean, well, that's kind of the assumption in Disney. It's not like there's
Sure.
these characters in there that are just like bad for you, but they're not evil, right? It's like there's a clear distinction between good and evil. And in real life, the way it works is that that these people are not evil, they're just not good for you. They could be fine for somebody else, but for you, they'll destroy you.
Yeah, so Disney basically gives us a warped perception of how the world works, and it's pretty easy to take on some of those views if you watch a lot of Disney. And what I'm really suggesting you do is that you take a step back and you evaluate what value does each person who's regular in your life provide. Because by choosing to associate with those people, you're really going to just be growing off whatever nutrition they're giving you. And that nutrition may be not good for you.
And some people might say, that's cold-blooded. But, and it definitely is to say, well, okay, I could spend time with friend A, and, we'll have a couple laughs, and, that'll be nice, and they'll like me. Or I could spend time with friend B, who maybe at this point isn't even a friend really yet, who is just like, yeah, if you want to come and hang out for a bit, we can. And, you have to make a decision. When I was first getting into doing business, there was this guy who, he used to have get-togethers at his house where people would play Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. And, obviously, if I was going and playing cash flow with him, then I couldn't be hanging out with my friends. Or an even better example, kind of similar, my first Japanese girlfriend, we were supposed to go to Robert Kiyosaki, a cash flow event. It wasn't given by Robert Kiyosaki, but some guy in Osaka had put together a group of people to like do this weekend where, a bunch of people could just show up and play cash flow. So originally me and my girlfriend were supposed to go, but then I don't remember what happened, but on our way out, she started throwing some crazy tantrum because she was, fucking nuts, and I was too dumb to realize. And so, she was like, and I was trying to decide what to do because she's there like crying and like throwing things, and I was like, what do? Do you like go to the cash flow event and just like leave her there wondering if she's going to kill herself while you're gone, or do you like stay? But at this point, I'd been like beaten down so much, I was like, okay, I should just go. If she kills herself, that'll be better for me anyway. But actually, it's serious. It was really weird. I actually because at that time I was a fucking disaster, and so I like really didn't know what to do, and I actually started to call like 911, like the Japanese 911, to like tell them that they should that she was going insane. They should come and get her. But then when I was like calling, she stopped crying very briefly to tell me that wasn't the right number. And I was like, okay, well then I guess I'll just, okay. So I was like, all right, well fine, I'm just going. And it's so important that I went because the two people that are, one of the people who definitely helped me the most, the gumball guy, I met him at that event. And if I hadn't gone to that event, he and I, did a lot of business together. I borrowed money from him any number of times to fucking pay my rent when things weren't going well. I got a lot of advice from him when I was doing business deals. I bought a M&M vending machine route from him, and I bought like some additional machines that he like financed them, and I paid him back over time. I did some cold calling for him, and he like trained me in doing like cold calling, and if I hadn't gone to that event, I don't know when I would have found another person that would have given me as much value as him. And also, I actually met my, one of the business partners who I did Pick Up Asia with, which to this day I think it was good that I had him in the beginning. Probably should have booted him sooner. Definitely should have booted him sooner. But at the time, it was really valuable having him as part of the team, the founding team. And I met him at that event too. So, that one event that I went to, leaving my girlfriend, screaming and crying in the bedroom when I was like, oh, well, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just going to go. It's so easy to not do that part, not do the right thing, and you just stay with the girlfriend. And, and then you just get nowhere. And that's kind of the thing, because, the thing is that you don't know about the opportunities you're missing out on because of the pull these people have on you. And that's really big. I mean, you could probably think, well, it's probably not a big deal. And you're right, it might not be. I went to plenty of events that were pointless or meaningless or I didn't get a lot out of. But, if you miss that one event, totally changes the direction of your life.
So there are two key points here that are good to bring up. The first one is that what opportunities do you get by being friends with these people? Because you can provide them with some, they can provide you with some, right? And if you're friends with like that dude who smoked a lot of weed from high school, he's probably not going to provide that many opportunities, although he might. So you should be aware of that, as with Red Bull Q's story just there, right? He made one friend, and that led to going to an event, which then led to meeting more people, which led to more and more opportunities.
Well, actually, the event was just something I found in the paper, and I just went. I didn't know the person at the event. I wouldn't have known about it at all if I hadn't gone. It was just pure. I just looked in a pay, or like a meetup kind of thing, and this is before meetups, but I just looked on basically a local paper and I saw this ad for this event and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this.
Okay. Well, the second aspect would be the limiting beliefs or mindsets that you get by being friends with people. And you mentioned that particular guy, he, I assume, helped you quite a lot in terms of helping you remove any limiting beliefs or give you good mindset.
Oh yeah, I used to do like a lot of the, because I read Unlimited Power, which I really recommend. And Unlimited Power is all about modeling people's mental frameworks. And one of his was that he always did his sales calls hungry. So he would like be hungry when he did his sales calls, and that would like make him want to close that deal, And so I was like, oh. I mean, it really helped because I was broke, so I was often hungry anyway.
The Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Literally. So, the advantage of having a friend who has some level of experience higher than yours, or just different experiences, is they'll have different perspectives, and that helps you speed up your own progression as a person and helps you move around whatever sort of blocks that you have in your way. So a very easy example of this. If you have a friend who's lived in Asia for a bit and then he goes back home, he's probably quite used to talking to strangers and interacting with people he doesn't know, because that's just a normal thing he has to do in Asia. Whereas back home, I mean, some people do that, but it's like not going to be as a normal thing compared to how it is in Asia when you're like a random lost foreigner. So if you have a friend who can influence you to be willing to go and talk to strangers and interact with people you don't know, that again provides you with lots more opportunities to meet new people, to make changes in your life. And this is directly relevant in terms of meeting women and talking to women, right? In Asia, if you're a random dude walking around, you don't usually need that much of a reason to talk to people because you've already got lots and lots of reasons. You're lost. You don't speak the language. You lost your passport. You
don't know anything about the culture, where to get food, how to get home.
You're hungry, homeless, and you just got scammed from all your money by some dodgy motorcycle guy.
You need a job.
Any of the following reasons. So, again, when you are looking at your friends, your existing friends, analyze what beliefs do they have? How do those beliefs affect you? How do your beliefs affect them? And what could you change? What new beliefs could you gain from other people around you or potential people around you that would make differences in your life? And for me personally, when I first started learning how to approach and date women properly, I always thought it was weird to touch women, right? So I think that's kind of the sleazy guy thing to do. I would look at the guy doing that and be like, oh, that guy's sleazy. I'm not like that guy. Thank God. Women like me because I'm not the sleazy one. And then my friend, when he was touching girls, he wasn't sleazy about it, which was interesting because obviously my perception of him makes it not sleazy. He's my friend, so he can't really be that sleazy. So I saw him doing that, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Girls respond really well to that. And that made me feel a lot more comfortable doing that. So obviously, I started touching girls more and more and realized, oh, I've been wrong for 2/3. Yeah, at that point...
His friend is Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, let's not tell everyone that too much. So I'd been wrong for over a decade about that because I thought it was just like an inappropriate thing to do. And there's many, many other examples that we can all think of in terms of business, not just girls. But either way, the point being, you can really gain a lot from watching the other people around you if you look closely.
One of the things about this is that when you start to hang out with these people that are not your normal group, is that you're going to feel uncomfortable a lot of times. Because, you know, it's not what you're used to, and they have different mindsets and different ways of doing things, and, you know, and you might feel like you don't have a lot to offer, and it's very possible you don't. Like, when I first got started, I mean, you know, I would just do anything that I could, like, do, because I didn't really have much to offer, especially, you know, when you're a young guy, you know, you don't have much experience, you don't have much knowledge. I mean, really, all you can do is, like, grunt work, like, stuff that's, like, really, like, too annoying for somebody else to do. And so, you know, I did some of that stuff. And, you know, that's really the reason why, or one of the ways that you can get in with these people who are ahead of you. And, or, you know, ahead of you in whatever area you're trying to progress in, whether it's like, you know, whether it's improving your health, whether it's, you know, developing business skills, whether it's, you know, with your dating life. And so, you know, and so you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to hang out with these people, and they're going to talk about different things that you don't know about, and they're going to do things that you've never done. And, you know, that's just a normal part of that. And so it is one of the reasons why people find it very difficult to start to make changes to the people they hang around with. And, you know, but once again, as Kane was mentioning earlier, you know, it's very important to think about it not from the perspective of what makes you comfortable or what you like, and from that emotional perspective, but to think about it from a, like, what you're going to get out of the experience perspective. And, you know, this is something I think, for example, McConnell is very good at.
You're just saying that because he has great friends?
You know, you're very good about connecting with people that, you know, you can learn certain skills from that will develop you in the ways that you want to develop, and not basing who you hang out with primarily on how much you like them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, I guess. Yeah.
So do you have any, you know, tips or comments about,
I don't-
why you're able to do that, or how you see yourself as being different from, other people who don't do that?
Yeah, I think actually part of the reason I like developed that way is because I spent a lot of time on the internet from when I was really like young. So, on the internet, people pretty much, or at least now it's kind of different, but back then it was kind of like the people you wanted to talk to on the internet, it's purely based on how it's purely like the internet back then was like a pure meritocracy where, it didn't matter who you were or like, what you were like in real life. All that mattered is what kind of value you could offer to people on the internet at that time. And so people who could offer you a lot of value or knowledge were like, rated more highly. So I guess I just got used to trying to like seek out people who provided a lot of value because that was the only sort of currency people had online back then. Right? So I guess like that was how I just like learned to filter people based on what value they provided from the time I was pretty young. And then of course that translated over into real life. So yeah, I would just say like spend more time thinking about what value people are giving you rather than how you feel around the person or like, because a lot of people will meet somebody who's very strange, and oftentimes strange people are the best people to learn something from because they have an interesting way of looking at the world. So, think about what someone's experience must have been, or what kind of knowledge they might have that you may not have access to, and think about it from that perspective. And one other thing that I would say is that after I learned pickup, I had like a lot of friends in junior high and high school who were, big nerds like me, and, they were really good friends, but I actually started spending more time with like naturals after I learned pickup because I was like, oh, these guys like also are good at getting girls. So I like spent a bunch of time with these naturals, and that was really good for me, even though I realized after like spending a lot of time with them that it was really bad to spend time with them because they were really kind of toxic people, and they were really selfish usually. So, but it was really good spending time with them because it gave me like a good perspective on the kinds of people you shouldn't spend time with, right? And I saw like a lot of their behavioral patterns about how they reacted to women and how they were able to get girls and how that's different from the way people who learn pickup get girls. Whereas, naturals, there's no strategy really. It's just like all, based on, it's sort of like the way that a blind person might learn to, get around a room is based on like feeling things and then, walking in like a slightly inefficient path that still gets them to the other side. Where and that's kind of how naturals do game, is that they're just sort of like blindly trying things and then they know how to get somewhere based on that, but they don't actually have like a clear, efficient strategy, right? And so I figured that out after a while. So I would say, just pay attention to what's happening and be aware of like the downsides and the value you can get from people, and take like the Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee sort of thing, the Bruce Lee approach where it's like, take what works and just get rid of everything else. So yeah.
One of the other things that's important is that when you start making these changes in your life, it's really important that the people around you will celebrate that progress that you make. And a lot of times, and you may have those friends. So if you have those friends who aren't making the same moves as you are, but they still are willing to or able to celebrate for you and be happy for you, then that can be great. But that's like a big indicator that there are people that those are people you should cut out. Like if you're moving forward and you're really proud of something that you've done and they don't feel the same way, because you could definitely have like friends or family who they may not be able to help you at all, but they're supportive, and and so I definitely have had a couple of experiences with people who I thought as being friends of mine who when I was showing them the things that that I was doing in my dating life that I couldn't do before, instead of them being like, oh that's great, man, that you're making those changes, I like showed this guy this video of me talking to this girl. It was just I was on a date with her and I just started recording just for fun. This was back in like 2004 probably, or 2005, when in Japan they already had cameras on all the phones, and I like recorded it and I was like showing it to him, and he's like, yeah, so what, you're good at flirting with girls? And it was like, so what? Do you realize like how much pain I've gone through to be able to do this? Like, I mean, obviously I shouldn't say obviously, but I didn't say anything to him, but I was just like, all right, I'm never talking to this person again. Because it just showed that, they didn't take any time to think about me or like about my position. He's only thinking of it from his perspective, and for him maybe it's no big deal. Maybe well, actually it wasn't. I mean, he was always pretty popular with girls, but he couldn't look at my situation and go, yeah, wow, that's really great to see that you're finally like improving in some area of your life that's important to you. Because you don't need someone to be doing the same things as you to be able to be supportive of your successes. So I'm not saying that you have to cut out people that aren't doing the same thing. I'm saying that you have to be careful of those people that are doing other things that are going to prevent you from getting where you want to go.
Yes, I think this is quite a good opportunity to just throw out a few points on what we all think are the right sort of friends.
Okay.
Because we've told people basically don't be friends with people just because you like them. Base it on some sort of reasonable value exchange. But I think we could define a bit more clearly, like, what are the right sort of people you should be around. Now, this largely depends on what sort of life you want to have. Again, if you want to become a crackhead, then that's pretty straightforward. Just make friends with a bunch of junkies. If you don't want to do that, and you want to have a successful life, we want to make a lot of money and meet a lot of people and party, etc., I think one of the really most important characteristics you can have in a friend is someone that is positive and supportive. Now, this can vary across what you're doing. Maybe they will be positive and supportive about certain things, maybe not about others. But there are certain people who are predisposed to being more kind of negative and disapproving about whatever. Crazy horse.
That's not it. It's not even what it's like. It ain't even like that.
So there are people who are more predisposed to being like that, and there are people who are going to be more open and supportive. Now, I found that spending any time trying to convince my existing friends who maybe don't totally support something I'm doing or aren't really interested in it isn't really worthwhile. So I don't try and make them into the people I want them to be. I found finding people who have the qualities I like is the best way. So for me, a really big one is someone who's positive. Because when I hang out with them, if they're positive, that can help me deal with some of my own bullshit. Plus, it makes it enjoyable to be friends with them. It gives both of us better outlooks on life. So that makes it an easy way for us to exchange value too. Because if, again, someone's not positive, they're negative all the time, it's basically just every time we meet, we're talking about depressing stuff and trying to deal with all this bullshit.
Yeah, that reminded me of one of Jim Rohn's talks where he was like saying that, he sort of wanted to, he what was it? I said I would help these people if it killed me. I almost died.
Yeah.
And he's saying that, you can't help people that don't want to be where you want them to, where you want them to go. So he says, you don't. He was talking primarily about employees or people you work with, and he was saying, you find them. You don't make them. You find them. You have to find those people, and obviously you can present the opportunities. It's like, hey, I read this great book and it really made me, really, really helpful, and you can give it to someone. And if they read it, you're like, awesome, but if they don't, then, they don't want to make those changes, and that's fine. So I'm not saying to, like, throw your friend under the bus and sort of just run off and be like, wait till you guys see me in 5 years. I'm saying, give them the opportunity to join you on the journey, but, if they don't want to come, don't spend your entire life, trying to, handcuff them to you as you go. It's like, let them be and, go on your way.
So do you have any friends that you can think of that have a quality you found quite good for your relationship with them, or something you liked in them as a person?
Oh, well, all my friends, pretty much. I mean, I think that was I moved to Japan, and this was sort of helpful, and it is definitely easier if you, like, move to a different city or you move to a different country and you start your friend group from scratch. It's a lot easier because you don't have these people sort of, these old habits or, these old social circles or old perceptions of what you're like that are keeping you in a particular place. So it definitely is easier if that's the case. And so in my case, pretty much what happened is that when I moved to Asia, I knew that there was pretty much only two things that I was interested in. Peeling money and there's this great him quote, and he's talking about how his nails are really long, and he's like, yeah, because all I did was peel money and touch bitches. But actually, that's exactly what I was trying to do, or we used to say B&B, business and banging. that was so I just got friends that were either out trying to meet girls and dating and like picking up all the time before pickup was even a thing. That's just what they did. That's just what they were into. They were just into, trying girls, as it were. And then I got friends that were in business. And that's it. I didn't have friends that did anything else. Now, I would sometimes go to events. Like, I played Ultimate Frisbee. So some Sundays I would go and play Ultimate Frisbee with, like, these guys. But I didn't, like, hang out with them and go drinking with them and meet them up later. And conversely, I had another friend. He was doing improv. So if you have trouble, with humor, especially, but improv comedy is a great way to improve your social calibration and your ability to interact with people in social environments, because it teaches you how to take an existing situation and sort of manipulate it in a positive way to make it more fun, to make it more interesting for everyone. And also you get to be a lot more comfortable. So anyway, so a lot of times we recommend guys to go and do improv. It really helps, you go out to the club, you're talking to girls. I mean, it's basically improv, really. And so he did that. But then he got really involved with it, which was fine. But then what would happen is, instead of, we would like go to his improv show and it would be great. And then we were like, hey, yeah, we're going to go out. Do you want to come? And he would go, oh, well, I'm going to go out with the improv guys. And they would just end up drinking all night long. And, then he was like, oh, I need to, and then he would screw up his pickups because he was all drunk. And then he was like, oh, maybe I need to separate out my drinking nights and my pickup nights. But then all the nights started being drinking nights. And, it was partially because of who he hung out with. In my case, it helped. My friends were poor, so they couldn't afford drinks. Like the one guy, he used to just carry, he used to, buy some cheap alcohol, spiritus, and he would just, carry it with him, and he'd use his drink tickets at the club and just fucking pour in the spiritus to up it, to up the alcohol content. But, basically, they didn't have enough money to, waste it? Well, essentially waste it on drinks, so they, we talked to girls. So that was my strategy. I just eliminated all the friends that weren't like that. And then the friends back home who weren't supportive, I just stopped talking to them. And that was, pretty easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Like if you ever leave your home country, then pretty much you'll know within pretty fast, 3 to 4 months, but at least at most a year or something. You'll know who the friends who were your actual friends who care about you were, because they're the only ones you'll still talk to. Because I mean, if you're in your home, your home country or your home city or whatever, you'll just end up seeing the people who you normally see around, and they'll be nice to you, and you'll think they're your friends. But as soon as you make a huge change in your life, it's okay, all the ones who don't actually care about the things you're interested in are just gone. And so that's that's one of the reasons moving somewhere else is really helpful, because you can start over and you can really have a pretty balanced view of who is really invested and who doesn't matter.
In Australia, we say you really find out who your friends are when you move house.
Yeah. Same thing.
Okay, so basically you said two qualities. One, your friends were thrifty, thrifty and outgoing. They're doing things that you like, but they're going out, and that provides you an opportunity.
Yeah, they were engaging in the activity that I needed to engage in to improve, to get to where I wanted to be in my life. Yeah, and that was either whether it was with pickup or with business, and that was it. I didn't hang out with anybody else so all of my friends were entrepreneurs, all of them, or they were guys that I would just go to pick up with, and that's it. I didn't have okay, that's not entirely true. I had one other group of friends, because I had not the crazy girlfriend, but the next girlfriend, and we had our friends, our couple friends, and it's just one of those things, because you have to hang out with other couples so that everybody has someone to talk to. It's kind of terrible, but yeah, I had that. I had you're like, really?
I've never done that.
Yeah, I used to go to couples events. We'd go to the cherry blossom viewing, and it'd be 4 or 5 international couples. We'd all go to the cherry blossoms.
All right, and McConnell, just now, your point was that you really find out who your friends are when they're put in a situation where they have to make effort to maintain the friendship.
Yeah.
I think
or
another
you have
thing
to
is,
make effort.
I think another thing is you can think about there's activities that you probably do and that you like that are not particularly conducive to you doing what you want to do. So, for example, if like everybody, pretty much everybody, every guy plays like some video games sometimes. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with playing video games sometimes. But collecting a group of friends around you that play video games, probably not a good idea. Because then that'll facilitate you doing it even more. Because you're not doing it only because you enjoy it, but also because that's a way to connect with those people. So it's not good to have friends that play video games, although that doesn't mean you can't play video games. It's just that if you have friends that do, then you'll do it more than you would if you don't. That'd be another example.
The only clause I'll add to that is if you're on YouTube and you make videos of you playing video games and making millions of dollars, then it's probably fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's this one guy that I sometimes watch, Carnage. He has 12,000 subscribers on Twitch. And each of those subscribers is worth like $250 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he gets paid, so he's making like $25,000 a month, playing video games for 5 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, but that's really a different thing. It's kind of like the video game is just the business, right? They're just entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so So I mean, talking to him about the entrepreneurial side of it would be great.
Yeah.
But people who are just like playing games and they're just doing it for fun, once again, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you collect a group of friends around you who do that, then it's easy for that to become something that spirals out of control. It's the same thing. It could be if you like drinking and you have like a group of guys who are really into drinking. It's probably not particularly
the hash,
right? Yeah. The Hash House Harriers.
Yeah, you are.
Are you in the hash?
Yeah, my mum used to run a hash group, and I had to join. So
for those of you who don't know, the Hash House Harriers bills themselves as a drinking club with a running problem.
Yes, exactly.
So they, they do a lot. In some ways, they like to go on cross country runs, basically, where they, want to explain?
So they have a bunch of different things. They're just a social organization of people who meet up because they either like running or drinking or some mixture of that too. And they have different sorts of events. There's one called the Red Dress Run, where everyone dresses in red dresses, both male and female, and runs a certain amount of distance through Sydney, at least in Australia, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's always some sort of like larrikin, laddish behaviour. So I mean, I know some people who, for some reason, had a pram and filled that pram with ice and pushed it down.
Pram is a stroller for everybody else who doesn't know.
Stroller. And then they pushed this stroller down some set of stairs at some expensive hotel and got banned.
Right.
So I mean, these things happen. But the main thing is that they're a group of people who just like sort each other out and help each other. And there was a particular time where there was bushfires in Australia and everyone's house burnt down, right? So the select few whose house didn't burn down then donated stuff.
Yeah.
And they would support each other. And
yes.
This actually brings me to, I think, a really important point to mention, which is the community around you. So are you guys cool if I start yabbering about this?
Yeah,
well, can I just throw in one thing? I don't know,
Sure.
What you're going to say. So I'm not trying to throw in a caveat here, by the way. But I was just going to say is that once again, it's like there's nothing wrong with joining Hash House Harriers. I'm not saying don't join a group like this or anything like that. What I'm saying is that you want to be sure that the amount of time you're putting in matches up with the amount of value you get from it, rather than just doing it all the time because that's your habit and you don't want to disappoint those people and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, communities. There's lots of different communities in the world. I'm sure anyone who goes to university in America joins a whole different bunch. There's lots of ones based on sport, etc., etc., etc. And we have a really great one where we're basically a bunch of cool dudes living all across Asia, all trying to make money and get some girls. Right?
Yeah. Woo!
You called it banging in business?
Yeah, B&B, business and banging.
No, business and banging. Right, so we're basically the business and banging crew. And the important thing about being part of a community like this is that it helps you get through the difficult times. Now, I don't know if any of you are aware of the hero's journey, but we all have a bit of a hard-on for the hero's journey.
I wouldn't put it that way, but okay.
Dick pics aside.
Yeah.
I don't know. To get it up for Joseph Campbell, I would definitely need a lot of Viagra.
Fair enough. Thailand, right? So, we're all big fans of the hero's journey, and if you go and watch any sort of hero movie, or you go and understand a hero's journey, you understand there are obstacles on the way. There are difficulties, things you struggle to deal with or to grow through. And when you look at this from, say, the angle of pickup, I mean, in the beginning it can be quite tough for a lot of people because they understand that they're kind of retarded or they have some issues, and it's hard. I mean, they need to like get over approach anxiety. They need to figure out like what do they say on dates, right? They need to figure out how can they bang that girl in the bathroom. Now, if you've got a bunch of friends around you or a community around you that's well established and knows how to deal with these things because you've got people who are experienced, that is a very, very powerful tool for dealing with these sorts of questions or problems. And I can remember many such times where I've gone and read on the forum different people's stories about their experiences or problems they've had in Asia that have really impacted me and helped me fix some of my own things. So a simple one is that I used to get into relationships with girls that were quote-unquote crazy bitches. and for the first while of knowing Red Pole Q, every time I would have problems with women in relationships, I would tell him, girls are just crazy. Now, I held this belief for quite a long time, and bit by bit, going and reading stuff on the forum, talking to other guys in the community, I slowly realized that perhaps girls aren't all crazy, and that it is probably true that I was the one making them crazy. Or at least I was picking girls more predisposed to being insane and then provoking them.
Very well put.
So, the reference experience you get, the examples you get, all of these things help you build up new beliefs and break down old beliefs, or at least help you get around some of the limiting views or beliefs you have about yourself and about life. And that's really, I think, one of the most powerful things about community. Now, every year we have a meetup, we have a summit that we hold in Korea, and I always find this thing to be very rewarding each year because we get a bunch of different people coming who really provide different value. And we do have some people who come back every year again. And I've noticed, this is going to be like, what, the third year we've had it in Korea? Or the fourth? The fourth year. I've noticed that each year when we've had certain people returning, they've done better and better, right? And that's had a bit of a ripple effect because then they've brought in other people that they've met, and those people have started their journey to become a better, stronger, happier person. Now, just to wrap this up, I guess my point is that it's quite difficult to become the hero by yourself. But when you're surrounded by other people on the same mission, you get a lot of support which helps you get there, which helps you get past obstacles, to fight and kill dragons you otherwise couldn't do just by yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, I just want to say that, you know, some of the people listening to this, you know, maybe you've known about pickup for a while and you've tried to go out and do it by yourself, and you go out and it's just fucking brutal. And it is brutal doing it by yourself. It fucking sucks. It sucks because what happens is you go out and you see a girl and, you know, you're going to have to deal with approach anxiety. Maybe you don't approach the first 10 girls you see who you're into. And then finally, you know, you maybe get some courage and you go and approach a girl and it goes like, you know, all right, but then, you know, you get blown out or whatever. And then you just like walk away and you're like, oh, that really sucked. And you're like, I have to go do that again, especially when you're new, because, you know, most of your approaches are going to suck because you don't know what to do. And, you know, it gets way, way, way easier when you have someone to go out with, or a group of people to go out with, because when you get rejected, you just go back to your friends and they're like, oh, great approach, man, that was great. And then you feel a lot better because you're like, oh, yeah, I'm taking positive action. And, you know, the first time I really saw this was I tried to teach myself pickup, you know, after I read the game, and obviously I didn't have anyone who wanted to do it with me. So I would just go out and it was really, really hard. And so then when I finally did a boot camp, I was like, oh man, this is going to be really brutal, but it like wasn't that hard because I had like an instructor there, and I was like, oh, wow, it's like feels really good when someone is like there and, you know, you have like the support of someone else, even if it's just one other person. So I would say that if you're listening to this, you know, I highly recommend, you know, doing one or many of the things I'm about to list. So, you know, joining a lair wherever you are, you know, there's lairs in most major cities. You know, sign up for a lair because then you have a group of people who you can go out with, and, you know, maybe maybe you're not that great at game, but at least you can be around other people who have been doing it and who can support you on the journey. If you are in Asia or you are planning to come out to Asia, coming to the summit, which Kane just mentioned, we do a yearly summit, and that's like a great opportunity to meet a lot of like-minded people and surround yourself with the kind of people who are going to help you improve. And pickup will be a lot easier when you go out and do it with all of us and all the people who come to the summit, because there's just a lot of great energy and positivity coming out of the people who are attending. Doing boot camps, like I just said, you like cut your learning curve in half, and you get a lot of support from instructors or other people on the programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that as I said, I said from the beginning that I, sort of sought out people, and I went to this event, this cash flow event, which was all guys that were interested in improving their business lives, and I did business with 2 people from that group for years. They were kind of the foundation of like my business experience and my business attempts in my time in Japan. And then, the other half was like, there was like a group of us that was like maybe 5 or 6 of us. And, so there was always someone to hang out with. There was always someone who was going out to the club. And a lot of times it'd be all 6 of us rolling to the club on our bicycles. We'd show up, and it was just really great to have these people around to talk about what we were doing. And they're very interested in, I remember it was very interesting one time, I was talking to the gumball guy. And, he had his own business, and, whenever business you run, you have problems. And he was like, yeah, he said to me, oh, yeah, it's really great, to, like, help you with your problems because, it reminds me that my problems aren't that big. Something like that, because, it's just, and that's one of the things. It's like when someone comes to you to asking you for, or when you are coming to someone trying to get help, for them, it's actually pretty nice. Like, I mean, for one thing, we're always bumping against our own limits. And so when you ask someone for help who's ahead of you and they can help you, it actually helps them quite a lot, because it reminds them of, how they progressed and the past they had and the struggles that they were able to overcome, which helps them with their situation now, because it improves their mindset. So remember, you are, it's not like, it is true that there are some people out there. Like I remember when I first wanted to get into business, like I had my sister ask some of her friends, and like none of them were interested. Of course, this was like in America, like none of them were interested in helping me at all. I'm like just some guy. They're like, and I was like, well, I just want to like hang out so I can learn stuff. But but there was one guy who did really help me and support me. He gave me a list of books. He said, read these books. Just okay, I'll just read them. And, I just did, like, what he told me to do. And so, he was really happy, because for him, he also, he wanted to have more people to be able to talk to about business and that he could work with. And I think that's the same way, whenever guys do a boot camp, everyone's pretty happy to have, like, they're like, oh, cool, more guys we can hang out with. More like guys who are like doing cool shit. More guys who, when they say stuff, like it might actually be worth listening to about, dating and relationships and sex. Yeah. And, and so it's people want, to be around people that are also moving forward in life. So, don't be shy to like reach out or raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. I mean, in fact, one time I was running a boot camp in Korea, and I was, we were walking through the club, and there was just some guy. He came over to us, and he's like, I want to be with you guys, because he could just like tell we were doing pickup. And I was like, oh, hey, and I like talked to him for a bit, and I said, well, look, I'm doing boot camp now, but here, give me your contact information. We'll like talk, and and then he did a boot camp a bit later, and then he like a couple months later, a year later or something, he like got married. He was like pretty happy. So, it was, you never know what's going to happen if you just like put your foot forward just a little bit and raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be with you guys.
Yeah. That's essentially how the Chinese pickup business started. I was like doing an approach on 2 girls with like an American dude, and some Chinese dude saw us and like busted into the set and was like, what are you doing? How are you doing this? It's like dark magic. And I'm like, he's like, you're doing pickup. It's pickup. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I want to learn from you. I'm like, okay. And then the first time I took him out, there was like 2 or 3 other guys that saw us doing it. Same deal. They approached us. So anyway, one of the really key points here for anyone listening don't be shy or don't think you're going to like take up too much of our time or bother us or waste our time or whatever. If you have questions or problems, you're just someone that's not happy and wants to improve, maybe you are happy and you just want to get better girls, hit us up. We're more than happy to answer the questions, give you a list of like 10 million different books that Red Book Q's read. It's an inside joke. Every time we meet him, he says like, there's this book. It's his like catchphrase. So we're more than happy to help. Just reach out to us, let us know what you need, and we're here to help you out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I just wanted to say that we I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but we're in Tokyo, Japan right now, and we have a boot camp this weekend. We're recording this on March 9th, I think.
Yep.
And so we got Kane to fly in from Shanghai, and we have Mr. Wright and McConnell, who are usually with me in Taiwan, who flew in, and actually quite a few other guys. And here's another example of like when you hang out with these types of people, because recently a lot of the guys are, we have several guys that have become millionaires together. They started business. In fact, we have 2 sets of 3 guys who worked together and became millionaires over the past couple of the past year or so.
Yeah.
And they all met each other through this community. It's like you just really don't know what the possibilities are for you. If you step out there and make yourself available to other people with whatever talents you have that you may not even realize. And I think this is so important. You may not realize the value of your talents because you don't know how to apply them in a way that generates lots of value. And somebody else might be able to look at them and go, wow, you know what? You're totally wasting this talent. We could easily do something with that. And so that's why it's so important. It's just like you don't know, and the people around you don't know, because if they knew, then you'd already be there. So get out there, make it happen. But anyway, so it was a really fun trip out here in Tokyo. It's been a bit hectic, with trying to get around to all the delicious food. We've been getting Kane on the fish program. We're not talking about, anyway.
Magro.
But, he's Australian. He only eats crocodile and kangaroo. So.
And beer.
And beer. The other meat. But we've been putting him on the fish program, trying to get him nice and healthy. And, and we have, the reason why I started thinking about the fact that these guys making, is that we had a bunch of other guys who were like, you guys are going to be in Tokyo? Great, I'll come through. And there's two other of the guys that we sort of know are here in Tokyo, and there's a few other guys that are going to come later in the month. And one of the guys, these days right now, crypto is one of the big things. One of the guys runs a crypto meetup, and there's other guys who do crypto startups and people that are doing crypto trading, and it's when you find people that do stuff, and that's just one area. There's a whole other group of guys that are primarily focused on, getting in shape and eating healthy and working out. And so there's a lot of discussion about that. And it's when you get around people who are doing stuff, they just keep doing more stuff, and it's just more opportunities. So
and I'll just also say that Pickup is one of the greatest communities, because I think, it used to be like this even more, but I think that Pickup has some of the most diverse people get involved in Pickup. You just can't meet the kinds of people in Pickup anywhere else. It's just like a magnet for weird and interesting people. I remember I used to read field reports on The Place, which is a Pickup forum, and and other attraction forums back in the day, and there were just so many fucking cool people doing cool shit with their lives, and Pickup was one of those things. And I think a lot of people when they watch videos from mainstream companies, or they if they're new to Pickup, they're oh, it's just this one-dimensional thing, and all these guys care about is girls. But actually, the guys who get into Pickup are usually into lots of crazy shit. So you might be surprised at how much you can learn just by getting into this one thing.
You've done quite a lot of business with a guy that you met on a pickup forum.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's
I mean,
right.
he's like
yeah.
he like went out to Silicon Valley to start his own business, and McConnell has worked with him on several of his projects.
Yeah, that's right. So, and we met, and I didn't know anything about him being interested in the business. We just started chatting, and it's like, next thing we know, we're doing collaborating on all this stuff. So
Yeah, you even did like a VR project.
Yep, that's right.
So that's just the key thing is sort of try and figure out where what sorts of where you want to sort of head into the future, and think about the kinds of events and people that you could be around that would help you move in that direction. And you'll start to get you'll start to realize that there's so many interesting connections that you can make, and you just don't know where it'll lead. I mean, certainly McConnell had no idea. I mean, actually, this is another great example. The way I met McConnell was because I was at a club, and we met me and Blue Mystery, and we met some Korean American guys who happened to have a fashion blog, and he happened to contact them about working on their fashion blog randomly. He was like looking to do some web work. He contacted them, and then now he's doing a podcast about pickup in Asia and living in Asia. I mean, it's like you can't explain that. You were gonna say, okay?
So I was just going to say, on the topic of like good events to meet a bunch of like-minded people and improve your life, the one that's coming up will be in the first half of May.
Well, the first half of May, probably the first weekend of May is when we're thinking.
Yeah, and that'll be again in Seoul, Korea. If you're interested in checking that out,
go to allasiasummit.com, and you'll be able to put in your email address there, and we'll keep you up to date with the latest.
And if you're going to come, my suggestion is that you do it inside a girl. If you're going to attend the summit, you should get in on the early bird price, unless you're rich.
Now, also, and if you need to know sooner, if you are like, oh, I really need to make some decisions, because sometimes we have guys coming in from the U.S. or from Europe or something, then just send me an email. I mean, I read my email very regularly, so just shoot me an email, or shoot Kane an email, or shoot McConnell an email.
We're really easy to talk to.
Yeah.
Unlike some other gurus in the pickup community, you can actually do dinner with us. You can actually talk to us. We'll pretty much talk to anyone. I mean, yeah.
I'm not going to cook for you, though.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to cook for you, but yeah, if you hit me up, I'll email you back. It might take me a week, but I'll do it.
And also, you guys should definitely sign up for the newsletter, the Pickup Asia newsletter. Right. So you can go to pickupasia.com and just enter your email. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we actually just started revamping the newsletter, so we're putting it out more regularly. Yeah. And there's lots of good stuff in there. Like, we designed like a really nice email template. It looks like really good.
Super sexy.
Yeah, we're starting to put out more regular content. The podcast is in there every time a new one goes out. All of our contact info is in each of the newsletters, so go and sign up for that. A lot of newsletters are just spam and dumb shit, but we try to put a lot of value into this new one that we're putting out. So definitely go and sign up for that, and we'll keep you posted on any events that we're doing.
And if there's anything that you would like to see in the newsletter that isn't in there, let us know. I mean, we're hoping to improve it.
Yeah, we're all about doing high value shit for free.
That's
no one can
disagree with that. Let's just say no one's ever turned to me and said, you know what, you're just about money. That's all you care about.
Yeah, you guys don't make any free content. Why don't you put some free shit out?
Things that have never been said about anybody affiliated with Pickup Asia ever.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely check out the Summit webpage, which we'll link to, and sign up for the newsletter. And
we want you to be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, any other comments before we close it down?
I'm good for the moment.
All right, time for us to take pre-boot camp naps.
That's right. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.